feminism, certainly its latest or later iterations, third wave feminism and such, is I've always found it to be very anti-women, like something that, offends me on behalf of women when I hear it, because so much of it insinuates that, women basically, need men to either step aside or, help them generally in life, or that if a woman, isn't in a position where she might want to be, it is somehow the fault of a man. Obviously, sometimes that might be the case, but the way it was presented as a society-wide phenomenon, when you actually started digging into what these ideas are, you would see that it seems almost like feminists don't think women are fully human to the extent that men are, in the sense that men are blamed for things and basically for existing, and women are victims in a sense. Anna Kasparian, I don't know if she self-identifies as a feminist today. Daniel just informed me that the kids don't use that word anymore, so maybe, she's not. But she did sound very much like um, similar to the way feminists, I think, used to portray women in the way she talked about Muslims and Muslim countries and Muslim people and countries doing bad things. Welcome to the reality show. I'm Razi Ginsburg, joined by Stuart Margolis and Daniel Kraus. Um, should we just start the clip so that people know what we're talking about, and then pause it?
I
Or
mean, since you mentioned feminism, and we'll probably never talk about this again, I'll just mention it. Me and Razi a few years ago were at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and I went to a conference that was about feminism, or specifically women in leadership position. And it was a funny thing. They said that, well, funny to me, probably kind of distraught for them, that more CEO of positions are filled by men named John than by all women combined, which is like insane statistic to me. Generally when it comes to sort of this idea, again, the idea should always be that, if there is little woman somewhere, are we missing some talent by not, properly employing or properly utilizing these people? But I don't believe feminists in actually achieving that. I don't believe any collectivists in actually properly, valuing individual achievement. So that's how I would generally summarize this whole situation. I think there might be something good there, but as always, sort of the devil is in the details. And when it comes to properly dealing with problems, collectivists are usually not your go-to, which for the most part feminists are.
Stuart, any thoughts before we go to the clip?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think feminists are alone in being collectivists. I think uh, other than objectivists, and even some of those I'm not so sure about, the default kind of seems to be a collectivism, and feels like we're moving more towards that and away from individualism in the culture. So I wouldn't necessarily focus on the feminists as like the problem. I think it's a much bigger collectivist problem.
Yeah, come on, Ross. This is not 2016 anymore.
Um, well, speaking of 2016, I think that's when, no, it was maybe a bit later. Race, thank you for being a member for 23 months. Race says, so you're saying I should change my name to John to manifest my empowerment, which I think is channeling, what's her name? Woman who,
Kathy
Kathy Newman. Yeah.
sounds, yeah, could be.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, should we go to the clip?
Roll the clip.
If you had to live in the Middle East, so tomorrow, Anna, you got to go live in the Middle East, where would you live? You can pick one city, any city. You can, as far away as, say, Pakistan. You could live in Karachi. You could live in Cairo. You could live in Amman, Jordan. You seem to love Lebanon. I mean, Beirut's nice when the bombing's not happening and the assassinations have stopped. Or you could live in Syria. I hear that's wonderful in the summer.
Well, we now have
Al
Qaeda terrorist leading
or,
Syria.
Or the Houthis, I'm sure would make room for you.
Yeah.
Tel Aviv or the West Bank, Ramallah. I think is wonderful for like a little. It's in the fall, it gets lovely. Where would you live? What city would you live in?
Well,
where do you think you'd be comfortable in that dress?
I'm sure it would not be comfortable in this dress in any of the various Middle Eastern countries that have been destabilized by
You're not
the United
really.
States.
You're not really blaming it on Whitey.
Listen.
Okay, maybe we should pause here. Yeah, he lists many cities. The thing is, there are many cities in which Anna could comfortably walk in that dress in the Middle East. They're all in Israel, though. And so this is a very easy question, and that's why he's asking it. He's asking it as a gotcha question because, you know, she's there to be gotten on this topic because of how bad she is on it. Stuart.
Yeah, I mean, she knows what the question is, what he's getting at too, and she's just evading. And then we'll get more into it later in the clip, but you know, the idea that what has made it difficult for a you know, scantily clad woman to walk the streets of you know, a Middle Eastern country is, you know, the destabilization caused by, you know, Western imperialism. I mean, that's just so, I mean, it's colossally wrong, and it's such an incredibly transparent evasion of the question. But that's what she goes to.
Yeah, and again, it does have that implication of, you know, all these Muslims have no free will. We're controlling them by, you know, doing things that they don't like. You know, their ideology, which they're following, the more they're into the terrorism, beating women up, certainly if they dress like that, you know, the more they're following their actual religion to the letter. But yeah, that's not a thing that their supporters seem to want to engage with. And Anna again is going, you know, she is the one who's seemingly going more and more in that direction. She's now a bit more open about it, really being about the Jews rather than you know, Zionist or whatever other anti-Semites say when they're pretending they're not anti-Semitic. Yeah, Race said, I encountered a 404 error inside Razi's brain. I think you created that error, but yes, that did happen. Daniel.
Well, first of all, whenever I re-listen to this clip, I just remember Ramallah sounds like really yummy. It sounds like a really nice spread, the way like Bill Maher said that.
Yeah, it sounds like Ramallah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to you know, it's obvious what he's trying to do, and of course, Anna Kasparian is trying to avoid that. By the way, Anna Kasparian, one of the nominees for the Anti-Semite of the Year. You can go vote on Stop Anti-Semitism, which actually in our own show she was the second one in place. Now, when he mentioned Syria, she was like, "Well, that's headed now by Al Qaeda." So before it was like okay. Like
right, yes, it's been fine up until recently.
Yeah, like until recently it kind of got screwed up. Although when it comes to a lot of people on the left, or sort of like specific part of the left, they seem to be very friendly with Assad's regime, very friendly increasingly with Russia and Iran. So this wouldn't be, I mean, take somebody like, well, although it's in Trump's administration right now, Tulsi Gabbard, right? She was a big pro-Assad figure for a long time. So yeah, it's not completely out of place.
Paul says in the chat, Anna's gone full Cheng, never go full Cheng. Wasn't that a title of a show?
So
Never
full
Go
on
Full
Cheng
Cheng
mode.
was one of our most watched episodes, I believe, late 2023. Yes. Sorry, I'm recovering from the flu. There's a lot of 404 errors, so I'm gonna should we go back to the clip? Or do you have something to add, Stuart?
No, let's watch a little more.
Well, I would just add on sort of like Anna going Cheng. I mean they have been like weirdly pushing each other. Like especially if you watch them as I do for a very long time, when they do shows together, oftentimes you have like Cheng is kind of going crazy and Anna is like, no, 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 we shouldn't go there. And sometimes Anna is going crazy and Cheng is like, no, no, no. But sort of like together, they seem to be going in like insane direction for a long time. I mean, I always remind people they did like like Tucker Carlson did like 9/11 documentary, and they did a review of it where it's like, well, why don't we have answers to the questions he's asking? They do like 9/11 like truthism in 2025.
Well, it's popular in 2025, much more than it was in the past. And remember, like the Young Turks brand is angry, shouty leftist of like, how is the world not getting it? We should maybe shout a bit louder. I mean, they're that's the thing they do. They disagree with each other in ways that kind of ramp things up. Some of y'all on this channel sometimes say things that baffle me, and I wait until you're finished and then I reply. That's not how the Young Turks work. Yeah, so with Cenk, I think Cenk certainly in the immediate aftermath of October 7th, you saw with him that it's about the Jews. But first of all, Anna does this in a kind of less how do I put it? More out there way than Cenk, and Cenk will try to walk it back from time to time. So I think Cenk might be going full Anna if this continues.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, again, just to bring up Cheng, what was it, like 5 years ago or so? He invited his nephew, Hassan Piker, on the show to apologize for saying America deserved 9/11. Now I think he would be doing on show on why America deserved 9/11. That's the sort of the way we have been going. Or specifically, what has become more acceptable, right? Because again, even anti-Semitism, as crazy as it sounds, wasn't really that accepted before October 7th. That's what Kanye West got canceled for. Is he wanted to go Def 4, Def 5, DEFCON 5 on the Jews. He got canceled by companies and nobody really stood behind him. No. Wanna watch more?
yeah.
You're blaming Islam on Whitey?
I'm not
You're
blaming Islam on Whitey.
What you're saying,
But
we destabilized. That's why you can't wear that
did we
dress.
not? Did we
Wait
not
a second.
destabilize?
Wait a second.
We
Are
were
you
funding terrorist organizations
the-
in Syria during the Syrian
Okay,
civil war,
what-
starting
are you-
under the Obama administration.
that's why
did
you
that
keep-
not destabilize
that's-
Syria?
No, what's destabilized?
There's
let's
a literal Al Qaeda
We're
terrorist
talking
as
about
the
your
leader.
dress.
Oh,
Why
it looks good. I know it looks
why
good.
You're saying you can't wear that dress in Syria because of Whitey destabilizing?
I didn't say that.
Okay, that's
You're
what
putting
it
words in my mouth.
Okay, great.
But
That's
the
what
United
it
States
sounded
did
like.
destabilize various
But
Middle
I
Eastern
asked about
countries.
the
Are you going to
dress,
deny that?
I asked about the dress, and you went right to destabilize. So is that why you couldn't wear that dress? Why couldn't you wear that dress? Why couldn't you walk down?
You want me to talk about
Why-
jihadism
I-
and
no, I-
Islam, but like,
Why won't you?
Listen.
Why won't you?
I mean,
Why?
I don't believe in jihadism, which is
All
why
right.
I'm
Well,
furious.
a good place to pause. I don't believe in jihadism. No, you just support it from afar. And what does that mean? You don't believe it's a thing? Do you actually believe? Are you going to put that theory to the test and walk with that dress down the street of a Muslim city in a Muslim country, not a Muslim city like in England when we say, London has fallen or whatever people say, but an actual Muslim country? Because you would get attacked, if not by random citizens, then by the authorities. Stuart.
Yeah, I mean, she's just so completely dishonest and trying to evade the question. She knows perfectly well what he's asking, and she doesn't want to answer honestly. So she just comes up with all these different things that, as he's trying to point out, have nothing to do with the question he's asked. And this is not an accident. She's obviously doing this very purposely and deliberately because she doesn't want to answer the question.
Yeah. Ray says, I don't believe in taxes, but the government doesn't care what I believe. Yeah, that's a thing. And I'm pretty sure if you are around somebody who then shouts Allahu Akbar and starts stabbing people or shooting people, you can't say, sorry, sir, I don't believe in jihadism. That's not how it works. Then again, Daniel, does I don't believe in jihadism mean I don't believe these things actually happen? These terrorist attacks, I don't believe there are actually Muslims doing it. I mean, can you translate Anna for us?
Well, if I were to put on my sort of like left-wing hat, it's this is basically everything when it comes to 9/11, when it comes to October 7, when it comes to pretty much any terrorist attack in the West, it simply responds to the United States or European or Israeli occupation or are meddling. When you talk about Iran, you of course bring up the I think it was Operation Ajax, right? When the prime minister was deposed. So that's now Iran can basically have nuclear weapons and destroy the West because of this one incident. When it comes to Israel, they can pick so many different things. So I think that's the kind of thinking, basically, because supposedly, now I would even argue that some of those things were bad, but because supposedly something bad happened, all of the actions are now explained by those things. And this is not unique, right? Some sort of revisionists do it on the right, right? When it comes to the Nazi Germany, right? It's the Versailles Treaty was too bad, so they had no other choice. They had to invade Poland. They had to do this. Russia had to invade Ukraine. We everything, and this is what it is, right? It's always starts. The fault is with the West, and all the other countries are simply responding to the faults that the West has committed. I have so many things to say on this one, but if you want to take it for a bit, so.
Stuart.
Yeah, I think she is trying to say, not very well, again, because she's scrambling to cover her ass, but she's trying to say that she doesn't believe that jihadism is good, is what she's saying, not that she doesn't believe it exists. She's like, well, of course, I don't think that, we should be blowing up the Twin Towers. She's, okay, good for her. She's not in favor of, of terrorism.
I mean, she would probably say they didn't, but.
Well, right. But, I think that's what she's saying is, of course, I'm not in favor of terrorism. But that's not what Bill Maher is asking. She's again just evading. His point is that the whole culture of Islam, Sharia law, that's separate from jihadism, it's separate from terrorism, and that is what all of these countries want if they don't already have in place. And that is why she can't safely walk down the street. And she's doing everything possible to evade that simple truth.
More of the clip?
Well, I have a few things to add. I mean, not even sort of a Sharia law or the sort of law, but even the general culture, right? I think
Right.
when I did a show with James about his work as a prosecutor, he talked a lot about sort of certain immigrant groups sort of coming to America and sort of not really understanding that things like beating your wife is like not a good way to like conduct yourself in the West, right? This is like a cultural thing, and this is what he's specifically asking, right? It's would you be where would you feel comfortable with wearing a dress in a Middle East country? There is clearly only one place, and even when she brings up, right, we destabilized every single Middle Eastern country. What about Oman, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt? I think even Egypt you could put that. None of those had involvement. Actually, we saved Kuwait from Saddam Hussein. So none of those had any invasion. Most of those are even allies, even though they shouldn't be, of America. Yet, would you feel comfortable in Qatar? Would you be comfortable in Egypt, in Oman? Would those be good? Since they didn't have any.
That's the thing here with dishonesty being the default. I mean, well, not just dishonesty, but saying that which is not true and not saying that which is true. Because, if this was something about, okay, Israel's policies towards the Palestinians or what have you, she would say, obviously Tel Aviv. Of the cities you named, it's obviously Tel Aviv, but I don't like this or that. That's not what they can't. imagine saying anything that is positive about Jews. And yeah, I say they, but you see this across the board. I mean, it's her specifically, and her specifically seemingly more so in recent months, unless I miss something, and I have to say I don't watch everything the Young Turks put out or anything near everything. But yeah, it's it's a like I said at the beginning, it's a gotcha question, and she got, and that's because she can't say what she's really thinking. But let's hear what she can say, a bit more of it.
Yeah, I rolled the clip a bit back just so we have the full context. But yeah, let's play this to the end.
And Islam, but like,
why won't you?
listen,
Why won't you?
I mean,
Why?
I don't believe in jihadism, which is why I'm furious that the United States just had a freaking Al Qaeda terrorist in the White House.
It's not just jihadism that is preventing you from wearing that dress. Are you saying every Muslim is a jihad? I don't think they are.
Bill.
Okay, why can't you wear that dress?
Let's focus for a second.
No, you won't answer this question.
Daniel.
Yes, she won't answer the question. That's the upshot. She won't.
Yeah, and earlier sort of Bill Maher almost went into the route of sort of trying to argue that if every country was invaded or wasn't, or what was the influence. But yeah, he brought it back to no, we are talking about your dress. Where would you feel comfortable? And rightly also pointing out that no, it's not jihad. It's wasn't that like a big sort of like talking point by people like on the left that if every Muslim was a jihadist, then you have 2 billion jihadists, so they wouldn't do so they wouldn't do anything. So again, it cannot be just like either you believe it is jihad, and then you're saying that all Muslims in Middle East are jihadists, or there is something else. And it's a cultural thing. Again, if you go in, I've been in Tel Aviv, I've been in even Jerusalem. Well, I think you probably could get away even with wearing this in Jerusalem, although it's sort of city you should sort of dress up a bit more
depends
nicely.
where in Jerusalem.
Well, I was like not far away from the old city, so.
I mean, in most of Jerusalem, certainly in the city center, of course you can dress like that. That's a
Well, you
normal
can,
dress
but
in
it's
the city.
sort
There are
of
neighborhoods that are super religious, which is always unfortunate to see. But yeah, I don't know that I mean, certainly not in the
what I
Jewish
mean
religious
is like
neighborhood.
you might get like stares or sort of like people might look like shifty, but yeah, you wouldn't get like dragged somewhere and never heard from again.
Yeah. And stairs are not in the same category. She would get stairs probably anywhere, although probably not as many as she thinks she deserves. Anyway, Stuart.
Yeah, I mean, what she is struggling with is what it's kind of the fundamental problem that the left is saddled with, which is they have promulgated this idea that all cultures are equal, that there's nothing wrong with any culture, it's all just subjective, and yet the Muslim culture is one where she can't wear that dress, and so it clearly is not equal. It's clearly not the same, but she can't say that because that goes against everything that her tribe believes. So she just won't say it.
One of the trolls in the chat earlier said, "Let her speak, Bill." I didn't really. I mean, there was a back and forth there, but there were times when I thought it seemed like she's happy he jumped in and just let her come up with something, and it didn't really work out, but she got that extra few seconds. So yeah, and Pink Bunny Law says the Young Turks no longer really on the left. They try to schmooze with far right like Tucker. I mean, left and right are again very, very problematic terms, and it's
Let me
not.
tell you about this thing called the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. There is a very lot of sort of similarity between the far left and the far right.
Yeah, and yeah, there are more similarities than differences. Unfortunately, the further you go. So yeah, this is and And again, the Israel issue has brought that more to light when you see anti-Semitism being popular with the left, and then with the right, it's kind of increasingly getting more and more popular. So yeah.
And here is one more thing to remember, and I do not necessarily like the sort of far left and far right sort of concept. So let's take like communists or socialists and neo-Nazis on the other side. Something to remember is both of those sides hate their respective parties. Cenk Uygur hates the Democratic Party. He wishes it could be destroyed so he could get his progressivism idea into power. He thinks that the corporate Democrats are keeping his ideas from, this is what people want, and the corporate Democrats are shutting it down. So he is against the Democratic Party. In the same way, people like Nick Fuentes, they don't like Republican Party. They want it to go more crazy. They want it to go more extreme. So that's something to remember when it comes to sort of, this person is not on the left anymore because they criticize the Democratic Party. They've never liked Democratic Party to begin with.
Yeah, Pink Money Law says, I actually think Pierce is more anti-Semitic than Nick Fuentes. I mean, the thing with Nick Fuentes, and even in your mid-20s, you don't have the excuse of youth that much. But you certainly Pierce Morgan, you'd expect more of him just because of his age, but also because he, had a successful career or has a successful career behind him, and is still using, still has a successful career. But yeah, I can see the case for that. I really think with Pierce Morgan, you don't really know where he stands on anything. I think he throws stuff out there, sees what sticks, and goes with it because it sticks. I don't think this is a person. He might have views on stuff. And Daniel, was it with Tucker where Tucker said after the commercial, they went to commercial break, and then right afterwards, Tucker said, during the commercial break, you told me you hate Israel and something like that, right? This was a
Oh, I
long
don't
time
remember
ago, like
that.
it was post October 7th. But are you not the person who told me about this? All right, we can
Maybe,
go
but I
back.
don't remember anything like that.
We can go back and fact check it, but yeah, you know, yeah, Pierce. If Pierce is more anti-Semitic, he is just better at not being so blunt about it as she is.
Yeah, just quickly, because whenever you bring up sort of far left versus far right, people say, well, everybody is on the left. Diego says, properly understood, every far right person you can think of popular culture is anti-individual and pro-statist. Yeah, but also every like moderate left and moderate right are fundamentally anti-individual and anti-statist. So again, the concepts of left and right, if you want to do like a proper definitions, yeah, individualistic versus collectivistic, and then pretty much everybody in modern politics is collectivistic. If you want to use the terms left and right, the only true definition of those is the left opposes the right and the right opposes the left. There are no ideas behind them. There are no real concepts behind them. The only thing is opposition towards each other. That's why on almost every single issue, they are the opposite. It's very rare that you find them that sort of align on like a single thing. The only definition is the opposition to the other. That's why, the culture war is a big thing, because you just have to fight the other side for the sake of it, no matter what it takes.
I just want to read this because Pink Bunny Law says, I heard Anna was coming on to Bill Maher big time. I don't know where you heard that, but I do have to say, in the West, saying how short was her dress is something that will ruin your career. In the countries that she supports, it's a legal defense. So maybe she was I don't know what she was going for there. Anyway, maybe I should stop talking. Stuart, anything to add before we watch another clip?
I think what Daniel was saying about left and right, I think that has become increasingly true. I don't think that has always been. I mean, I think it's always been true to some extent, but I think, back when Ayn Rand was writing about these things, she identified that, the left was more interested in controlling the economy and the right was more interested in controlling people's kind of personal, emotional life. And I think there's still kind of the faint echo of that in the tribes. But yeah, it's become increasingly just, oh, the other side supports this, well, then I don't. So that's why even things that used to be, free trade used to be at least a nominal thing that the Republican Party was interested in. And it's clearly not anymore. But yeah, but I do think that's been a shift. I don't think it's always been quite this bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Both parties are going downhill, and the Republicans are going faster.
Yep, I would agree.
I would only wrap it up with that. I think both parties used to have maybe more values in the past, but I think fundamentally the concepts of left and right have no, they mean a different thing in every single country. They, if you take in Israel, the left and right was specifically about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. If you believe, should there be a two-state solution, or should Israel pretty much annex all the territory, or some kind of different thing? That used to be what sort of left and right meant. That's why right now there seems to be a little bit of a vacuum, because anybody in Israeli politics who believes in two-state solution is crazy. So you don't almost like have the left. So I think like the judicial reform is becoming like the new sort of left and right divide.
In Israel, in Israel at the moment, I think it was, but no, I think October 7th brought it back to it's clearer to find the left-right divide in Israel if you're talking about the issue of Israel versus its enemies than it is in any other country where I follow politics. But even there, if the right are supposedly the people who are on the let's recognize that we're in a war and let's win it side, then they're doing a very, very bad job of it. Although, okay, maybe we'll talk about the noose pin some other day, but I don't know if you guys saw that. Okay, then let's leave it, and let's go to another clip of Anna.
Before that, because she goes to something else, so I want to bring up this one more thing, because Bill Maher brought up the blame it on the whitey, and there is such a sure you guys have heard of the white savior complex. It's the idea that the Western man is gonna like save all people around the world, especially people in Africa that cannot take care of themselves. And this is another thing that is coming from Anna Kasparian, right? It's people in the Middle East, they don't have any moral agency over themselves. They do not have control over what society they create. They can only respond to what we do to them. So because the America supposedly destabilized the region or destabilized specific countries, therefore women don't have rights in those countries, because of course before the destabilization those countries had the rights for women. So this is I think sort of another, I don't know if side of the coin, but another example of this is and this is what we've always seen, the denying of agency of pretty much any people, right? They do the same thing for Palestinians. They are either afraid of Hamas, so they don't stand up. They don't really want Hamas, so we just have to save them. And unfortunately, I think people like Netanyahu have been sort of conceding on that, right? We have to save Palestinians from Hamas. So yeah, I think this is the biggest. I think this is generally the biggest problem of history for a long time. The idea that individuals do not act, and it's simply some dictator imposes his will on people, or even in America, right? The president imposes his will on the people. Nobody likes anything. We do something and then they respond to us. So yeah, it's sort of the denying of free will has made politics very disturbing and very hard thing to argue, since what do you respond to if somebody says, people don't control themselves, when it's like...
Another clip?
Sure. This is from Anna Kasparian was recently on Piers Morgan, since we mentioned him.
It's rich to speak about dehumanization.
Oh, this is super quiet.
It's rich to speak about dehumanization.
Can you hear this?
When
barely.
that said that all Israelis should be ashamed of themselves, that we are demons,
Like
that
really
the Jewish
barely.
lobby controls
I'll
the
summarize
US,
it
that
after.
Israel is a Nazi state.
The Jewish lobby does control the US.
Okay, all right. So
Where's
just
the lie?
prove my point. Then.
Okay, that was the main line from Anna Kasparian. So there was an Israeli talking about how Jews are the way are portrayed. Everybody always brings up the Jewish lobby, and Anna Kasparian has to jump. Well, there is a Jewish lobby that is controlling America. What is the lie? And that is, I think, another very big part that Anna Kasparian has been going on for some time. I don't know if she took it from Cenk, because I know he talks about it, or she is developing on her own. But this has been becoming like a big thing of Anna Kasparian, and I think one of the reasons why she is nominated for the Anti-Semite of the Year is talking about a Jewish lobby in America, which again, talking about the free will, right? It's I always say, if America has been taken over by Israel, maybe America is not worth defending. I mean, a country of 350 million people gets taken over by, few million Jews. It's like, come on.
They're just diabolically clever, those Jews. They can do anything.
I mean, it's interesting that this is still something that people would say the Israeli lobby, people would name AIPAC. It's, she's easing into it. And that whole side of the issue is easing into it because they've been saying Zionist and Israeli for over 2 years. They probably want to say a little bit of what they actually mean. And that's how I see that. And somebody here in the chat said, where is this? Something like, why? Oh yeah, why is she considered a thought leader? This is what the end of the world looks like. But also, I don't know if she's considered a thought leader so much, but she is a prominent, a prominent commentator, and the commentators who are prominent in the culture tell you where the culture is, and what the Overton window is. We are way outside that Overton window because we speak sense, and that is completely frowned upon. But yeah, Tucker and Anna, that's what you have within that Overton window.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to sort of like her being a thought leader, I mean, one of the things that is sort of, when we are dealing with internet politics, or sort of, people doing podcasts or doing anything, we are dealing with a specific section of the population, right? We are, or even on X, everywhere. You are talking to people who are on the internet, right? And there is a question of like, when it comes to sort of broader population, to what extent do these ideas really influence them? I mean, I think Bonnie has mentioned it sometimes, that people are starting to bring up people like Tucker Carlson or even Nick Fuentes on, like, in general conversation, are starting to, even like bringing up the Jews in a conversation. So I think this has been, I mean, even me, right? I found my Discord messages from like a few years ago, and I was like posting anti-Semitic meme. Now, that was a long time ago, and I'm like, wow, why? I don't even remember this. Why is this like a thing? So this has been apparently becoming like more and more. This was, by the way, this was before objectivism, when I was on the far right. Yeah, I did that, and it's just surprising that this has been like increasingly becoming accepted, even like a long time before October 7th, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, anti-Semitism was big before, which is why on October 7th, the people who took to the streets that day to celebrate, um, this has been their issue for a long time. And again, this is the greatest success. October 7th was the greatest success they've seen in their lifetime, unless they were born, before World War II, long enough before World War II to actually know what's going on and care about it. Yeah, Vered says, and I love this. She says she's a thought pusher. Yeah, and Stuart, that is in a great sense what commentators in general are. The intellectuals who set the kind of foundations of the ideas are often people you don't see much of or hear much of. Certainly not as much of as someone like Anna Kasparian. They're less soundbitey. They're more here's a massive book for you to read. And but yeah, but they are there, and then we get the pushers, and that's the people we see.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, I think that with the advent of the internet, we have more of a chance to actually directly see some of the real intellectuals. But generally, you do occasionally see them on podcasts and stuff, but they're not the people with millions of followers like Tucker Carlson or I assume Anna's probably in the millions as well. Candace Owens, these people, yeah, they're the pushers.
Thank you, Daniel. This is a different Daniel, right? For the super chat, Daniel says, Daniel trying to get ahead of the story before his anti-Semitic past leaks. So very good comment. Would have been read even without a super chat, but I like reading it even more as a super chat. Daniel, what is your defense? And I think it's already better than Anna's, but yeah.
By the way, I'm posting in the Zoom chat what I specifically posted to my friend. It's what you would expect. I mean, it's not a good. Basically, for I don't know if I should like show it on the show
or we can continue with the regularly scheduled content.
Yeah, and that's the same kind of thing. This idea of Israel or Jews controlling America. I mean, again, just take like what kind of ideas or what kind of beliefs that have to come together, right? And I think it fits with the sort of Cheng's idea of everybody wants Medicare for all, for example. That this is like big thing. If only that was ever put to a vote in Congress, or if ever this was like a campaign issue that would get put through, it's only because of the corporate people, corporate Democrats, and corporate. This is how he talks usually. It's only because of that this isn't being passed, right? And I think this is also now converting into anti-Israel sentiments and anti-Semitism, right? The fact is that generally the American population, unfortunately, until recently, has been pro-Israel, has wanted sort of this special relation with Israel, has wanted the support of Israel, has supported the actions of Israel. Generally, like all Americans across the spectrum, right? And Anna Kasparian disagrees with that. She says, no, this is not what the people want. So she's doing the same thing, right? The only way that America is having this special relation with Israel still is supplying Israel with weapons or providing them or allowing them to buy, is if there is something nefarious happening, right? Is if there is this lobby, this Jewish lobby, this Zionist lobby, or whatever. Yeah, I think she said Jewish lobby. This thing that is controlling America. So I think again, this is something that is on par with the whole ideology, with the whole way they look at politics.
Stuart.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know how many lobbyists there are in DC, but I'm sure there are a lot of them. It's not just Israel. Every cause under the sun has lobbyists, but it's only Israel's lobbyists that somehow are controlling the country. It's like nobody's saying, "Oh, those damn soybean lobbyists, they're controlling the U.S. farm policy." It's like, well, no, they're advocating for what they believe, like every other lobbyist. And how is that control? Now, I mean, you could argue with the whole lobbying system, but this idea that Israel's lobby is somehow uniquely controlling of the US government, I mean, it's just bizarre. And it's hard to find a reason for that other than this underlying anti-Semitism. And for a long time, before October 7th, I really resisted the idea that anti-Semitism was a significant force in American culture. But unfortunately, I think I was wrong. I think I think there's a lot of it still underlying there that's now coming to the fore.
Yeah, and what about the Armenian National Committee of America? Anna, right? What is this? What is happening here? U.S. seems to have a lot of bases in Armenia and a sort of special relationship with Armenia. Maybe we should look
She's in
into her
a
past.
thing called the Armenian National Community, or what was it? Committee?
It's a lobby group, Armenian National Committee of America. I mean, what? Do you think she only considers Jews who are part of AIPAC as part of this conspiracy?
I think being a part of the Armenian National Committee and the Young Turks is quite an achievement on its own.
Well, okay,
Probably.
she is, at least I don't know that she is. That it's an Armenian lobby group, right?
Oh, so just
Yeah.
because she's of Armenian descent, you assume automatically that her
Yeah.
views are in line with the Armenian national whatever.
If people can do it with Jews.
Well, yeah, it's the thing about lobbying, Stuart. We have countries that are doing not just lobbying, but openly buying America, specifically Qatar. And we have, so many of these voices who are anti-Israel, sponsored by Qatar. And I have to say, I'm not one of those people who are saying, oh, you're getting paid by so and so, therefore. Like, Tucker Carlson can say, no, I don't want your filthy terrorist money. I am going to tell the world who you are. It's his choice entirely. The Qatari government offering you whatever it is that they're offering him doesn't justify you going with it. That's your choice.
Did you catch the message that he's buying property in Qatar?
I saw that he's buying property, and I saw him being very angry when he was asked a few questions, and he said something like, "I'm an American. I can go wherever I want." And I thought, a few follow-ups would have been great at that point because he's so angry at the fact that people are pointing out the things that he does. By the way, one of the things that you'll see pro-Israel people tweeted a lot about this and did a very good job, I think, is a part of that clip where he interviews the prime minister of the dictatorship of Qatar. And he says, Trump is the first president to ever take the side of an Arab leader over the prime minister of Israel. And then, of course, Twitter did its thing. And you see people posting the lists of how every single president has sided with the Arabs against Israel. Now, America is the best country in the world in terms of Middle Eastern policies, but it's far, far from perfect and always has been far from perfect in its approach to Israel. I mean, there would not be a peace process, most likely. And remember, that's the peace process that brought us not just October 7th, but 3 decades up until October 7th of terrorist attacks and a second intifada and kidnappings and murder and rockets. That was the result of a peace process imposed by an American president, George Bush Sr., then forced on Israel by his successor, Bill Clinton, then forced on Israel by his successor, George Bush Jr., and then Obama. And so all of them are bad, but to various degrees when it comes to Israel. And the problem is because people don't think of alliances as something to do with fundamental values. They think, okay, do we have, at least with the Middle East, do we have people here who we really don't like or really think are a threat? And if we do, and anybody else thinks that, therefore they are our allies. We don't need no due diligence, no scrutiny as to who it is we're getting in bed with. The Saudis are worried about Iran. We're worried about Iran. I don't know. That's not the foundation of that relationship, but it's one of those things that, okay, these are your allies. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter that they treat women in a way that makes Anna Kasparian try to get out of a question of why she wouldn't want to move there. It doesn't matter because they're on our side. And so, yeah, if America's policies was fully an American values policy, foreign policy, it would 100% of the time side with Israel in any conflict in the Middle East. It would, Trump or whoever would be in office would applaud Israel for the strike in Qatar and tell them you have America's backing to do it again because you missed. And maybe this time don't just target a room, take down the whole building, and chances are you're going to succeed. So it's a side rant on a irrelevant topic, but I think it's well placed. Stuart.
Yeah, I just it's stunning to me that this idea that America's foreign policy is controlled by Israel, when yeah, as you pointed out, virtually every president has not done things that Israel would have wanted. It's just even on the face of it, the claim is bizarre. It's you could perhaps plausibly say, oh, America is too pro-Israel, but the idea that America is controlled by Israel, it's just so absurd. And yet that's their claim, and they repeatedly state it, and hardly anybody. Well, I'm sure people push back, but they don't push back enough.
Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the sort of America being pro-Israel, I mean, when it comes to people who are pro-Palestinian, any concession, any relationship with Israel is too much for them. Any belief in the existence of Israeli state is too much for them. Any, not going around and finding and branding and doing something to every Jew you can find, that is going to pro-Israel. I think there is like a meme even about it. It's like everybody who is a little bit more radical than you are is like a crazy lunatic, and anybody who is like a little bit less is like a crazy compromiser. But it's only that I'm in the right position, which of course is true in our case, and that's why when it comes to somebody like Piers Morgan, he almost like wears that as a badge of honor. The pro-Israelis are, I don't know how to do British accent. The pro-Israelis are calling me that I'm too pro-Palestinian, and Palestinians are calling me that I'm too pro-Israeli. So I must be right because I'm pissing off both sides. But no, it's if you understand the conflict, I mean, apply that to any other situation, right? Apply it to Nazi Germany. Yeah, if you are generally for the Allies, but you believe that maybe we should compromise, give Hitler Czechoslovakia, or maybe stop the war in 44 because let's not go too far, then yeah, you are being pro-Nazi, because it's not about like being are you proportion or not, yeah, proportionally more on this side or more on that side. It's about what is the right thing, and if you don't do the right thing, you are doing the wrong thing, even if the wrong thing is 1% of what you're doing. If you put 1% of poison in your water, that's poison, that's not water.
Was that Piers Morgan you were talking about who said the Israelis say I'm pro-Palestine and the Palestinians?
It's just something I'm putting in his words. I'm sure I could find it because I do seem to remember it.
I remember Bill O'Reilly doing that in his show on Fox News, and he would like at the end he would read some of the letters, and he made a point of reading somebody attacking him from the left, somebody attacking him from the right, and then he'd go, "See, I'm a centrist," and he was not a centrist. He was a conservative, maybe not as full on as some of the other people on the channel, but that was kind of his shtick. I'm a centrist. People attack me from both sides, therefore I'm a centrist. That's not how it goes. Piers Morgan, you are, I don't know if you said that, but you are absolutely on the anti-Israel side and were on the anti-Israel side from the beginning. Remember, it took Piers days before he started condemning Israel for basic responses, actually bombing terrorists, including the ambulance. I mean, the ambulance, I think, was the first thing, right? There was an ambulance. The thing with an ambulance is it's a type of car. It can do car things that are not necessarily ambulance things. Like instead of taking people who are injured to a hospital, it can take terrorists to attack people, or weapons to terrorists who will then attack people. And that's what that was. But for Pierce, it didn't matter. And Pierce knew very well that the reason Hamas uses ambulances, hides in hospitals, hides in schools, is because there are Piers Morgans in the world who will then say, look, Israel bombed an ambulance. He's not going to say, what's going on there? Why is there an ambulance? Are the Jews looking at all of the Gaza Strip and saying, you know what, we need to bomb an ambulance going to the hospital to help sick people? There was no questioning in there in his mind, or at least in what makes it from his mind to his mouth or his fingers when he's typing. So, yeah, That's my rant on Pierce Morgan, which is also off topic. Stuart, we can do off topic stuff for the next, I guess, hour and a half until the Atlas Shrugged Book Club, but we're not going to. Any parting thoughts, and where can people find you?
You can find me at my Substack, stuartmargolis.substack.com. I'm also on Facebook. And boy, parting thoughts. I think that the prominence of people like Anna and Tucker and Canada, all that is such a bad sign for the culture. And obviously we're doing what we can to put good stuff out there. But I wish there were more of us. I wish there were more people that were interested in objective truth. We're interested in what's actually going on, because it seems like so much of what these people are doing is just emotionalist. It's appealing to emotions, trying to get people riled up, and unfortunately it works.
Daniel, parting thoughts, and where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm smiling because I looked over to my meme and I laughed again. It's not a good one. But I mean, again, when it comes to somebody, and this is my problem, right? It's a lot of this stuff is like funny, but it's funny because of how ridiculous the idea of it is, and the fact that we have people who actually believe in that. Which again, this is not just about anti-Semitism or just about Jews. This oftentimes starts with it because that is the quickest and easiest way. That is the canary in the coal mine. But this is a result of a really faulty epistemology, which shows really wrong thinking, to be sort of easier language, like a really wrong way of thinking. And this doesn't stop at the Jews. This will convert to everything else. Nazi Germany, it didn't just start with the Jews. It recreated the whole society towards a completely collectivist, completely an individual devoted to state kind of mentality that not only killed not only millions of Jewish lives were lost, but tens of millions of lives across the world that were lost because of this ideology. So when you look at somebody like Tucker Carlson, it's not just anti-Semitism. It goes to now World War II revisionism. It goes to maybe we should get Nick Fuentes, a neo-Nazi, a white nationalist, into the Republican Party. And on the left, right, it's maybe we should try communism again. Why not? Which again, on the other side, tens of millions of lost lives. So this is the biggest problem. It's the corrupted way of thinking that has been going on for, I would say, decades. I mean, if you look at somebody like Tucker Carlson, look at like even his stuff from like 20 years ago, I think you can already see the inklings of a really wrong epistemology. And I think, the election of Donald Trump really, the first one really sort of put this into mainstream, this complete conspiracism when it comes to dealing with any issue.
Yeah, by the way, this channel wasn't around 20 years ago, but we've been calling Tucker out long before it was cool. And yeah, some of the things that we have said, I keep telling people to go back to the shows we did immediately after October 7th, because my most often repeated line on those shows is "I hope I'm wrong," which follows predictions which unfortunately turned out to be right. I mean, we saw where this is how this is gonna play out. I have to say, I didn't think it would be as bad as it is. But yeah, this can be understood much clearer than I think it often is. And um, if you think this channel helps that, if you think, as Stuart mentioned, we are way out on the fringes. If you think we should be a bit closer to mainstream conversation, share, even a like helps with the algorithm. Comment, and of course, if you would like to support our work, consider becoming a member of the Ayn Rand Center UK. You also get access to lots of additional stuff, including the Atlas Shrugged Book Club, which will be, by the time it's finished, the longest running Atlas Shrugged Book Club of all time, I am sure. We are So what, a year and a half into it? Or no, not a year and a half, but well over a year and a third of the way into the book. So yeah, you still have time to catch up, even if you join now and have never read Atlas Shrugged. And I know people did that with our Fountainhead book club, which was 2 years long. There were people who read it the first time with that book club. Certainly worth the price of membership. And as I mentioned, as a side benefit, you get to support our work. So thanks, Stuart. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with a daily objective and the reality show.